My sister texted begging for $25,000 for her daughter's life-saving medical treatment, but the hospital call the next day revealed there was no sick child and she'd been running a gambling scam for years. Welcome, family. If this story touches your heart, show some love by subscribing and letting us know where you're watching from. Now let's go on with the story. The text came at 2 in the morning. My phone's screen burned through the darkness of my bedroom, and my heart dropped before I even read the words. It was from Shanice, my older sister. We hadn't spoken in 6 months, not since Thanksgiving when she'd borrowed $300 for groceries, and I'd found out she'd spent it on scratch-offs at the gas station. Kenya, please. I need you. It's Mona. That's all it said at first. Then the bubbles appeared, those 3 dots that meant she was typing, and I watched them like they held my daughter's fate instead of hers. My hands started shaking. Mona was my 9-year-old niece, the only good thing Shanice had ever created in her 41 years of chaos. I raised myself up on my elbows and my husband Desmond stirred beside me. "What's wrong?" he mumbled, but I couldn't answer yet. The next message loaded. She collapsed at school. They rushed her to the hospital. Doctors found a tumor. They need to operate immediately, but insurance won't cover it. I need $25,000 by Friday or they won't do the surgery. Kenya, she's dying. My baby is dying. I read it 3 times. Each word felt like a punch. Desmond sat up now, reading over my shoulder, his breathing getting heavier. "Oh my God," he whispered. "We just refinanced our house. We had that money. We had exactly that money sitting in our savings account, meant for our own kids' college fund. But this was Mona. Sweet, smart Mona who'd stayed at our house last summer and helped our daughter Zara with her reading. How could we not help?" I didn't sleep after that text. I lay there in the dark, remembering the sister Shanice used to be before gambling ate her alive like a cancer. We grew up in a small house with Mama working double shifts at the hospital, and Daddy driving trucks cross-country. Shanice was 6 years older than me and she practically raised me. She braided my hair every Sunday, helped me with homework, scared off boys who looked at me wrong. She was my hero. I remembered her high school graduation, how proud Mama looked when Shanice got that scholarship to the state university. But then Daddy died my sophomore year. Massive heart attack at a rest stop in Tennessee. They found him slumped over the wheel. Shanice came home from college for the funeral and never went back. She said Mama needed her, but the truth was darker. She discovered the casino 20 miles outside town. At first it was just weekend trips with friends. Then it was twice a week. Then every night. By the time she was 25, she'd blown through Daddy's life insurance money that Mama had given her for a house down payment. $50,000 gone. Mama cried for weeks. That's when the lying started. Shanice would need money for rent, for car repairs, for medical bills. Always an emergency. Always urgent. And we'd give it because she was family. Because that's what you do. Desmond touched my shoulder in the darkness. "You're thinking about giving her the money," he said. It wasn't a question. "It's for Mona, not her," I whispered back. "How can I let that baby die when we have the money to save her?" I called Shanice at 6 a.m., unable to wait any longer. She answered on the first ring, her voice hoarse and broken. "Kenya." She was crying, those deep, gasping sobs that sounded like drowning. "Thank God you called. Did you get my messages? Did you read them?" "I read them," I said, pacing our kitchen while Desmond made coffee with shaky hands. "Tell me everything. What hospital is she at? What kind of tumor? Why isn't insurance covering this?" There was a pause, just half a second too long. "She's at County Medical Center," Shanice said. "They found a brain tumor. It's called a glioblastoma. Aggressive. The doctors said without surgery this week she has maybe a month." My stomach turned. I'd heard of glioblastomas. They were deadly. But why won't insurance cover it? "They're saying it's experimental treatment," Shanice said, her voice rising with desperation. "The regular surgery has like a 20% survival rate, but there's this new procedure, some kind of laser thing that's 90% effective. But it costs $25,000 out of pocket and they need it up front. Kenya, I've called everyone. Mama doesn't have it. Aunt Paulette hung up on me. You're my last hope. You're Mona's last hope." I closed my eyes and saw my niece's face, That gap-toothed smile. Those braids with colorful beads that clicked when she moved. "Can I come see her?" I asked. Another pause. "They're not allowing visitors right now because of her immune system. The tumor, it's made her vulnerable to infection." Desmond was watching me from across the kitchen, his jaw tight. He shook his head slowly and I knew what he was thinking. Same thing I was thinking. But I pushed the doubt away. I called an emergency meeting with Desmond's parents and my mama before making any decision. We all gathered at our house that evening. Mama still in her nursing scrubs from her shift, Desmond's parents Diane and Robert sitting stiff on our couch. I'd printed out Shanice's texts and laid them on the coffee table like evidence. "This is about Shanice," Mama said immediately, her voice flat. She'd heard this song before, knew all the words. "She said Mona has a brain tumor," I explained, watching Mama's face carefully. "She needs $25,000 for surgery by Friday or Mona might die." Something flickered across Mama's expression. Not shock. Not grief. Something closer to exhausted resignation. "And you believe her?" Mama asked. "Mama, why would she lie about her daughter having cancer?" My voice cracked on the word cancer. "Why would anyone lie about that?" "Because she needs money," Mama said simply. "Kenya baby, I love you. You got the biggest heart of anyone I know. But you weren't here for all of it. You were away at college, building your life when Shanice was at her worst." Robert leaned forward, his hands clasped. "What do you mean, at her worst?" Mama's eyes filled with tears. She told me our house was being foreclosed 3 years ago. Showed me fake papers and everything. I gave her $8,000 I'd saved for a new roof. The house was never in foreclosure. She'd made the whole thing up. Spent it all at the casino in one weekend. The room went silent. Desmond touched my hand but I pulled away. "This is different," I said, but my voice sounded hollow. "This is about Mona. Her child." "Call the hospital," Diane suggested quietly. "Just call them and verify the story before you hand over that kind of money." I didn't call the hospital that night. Instead, I texted Shanice, "I'm going to wire you the money tomorrow. Send me Mona's room number. I want to send flowers." The response came back in seconds. "You're saving her life. God bless you, Kenya. Room 412. Desmond stood behind me as I stared at my phone. "You're really doing this?" he asked. "I have to," I said. "If there's even a chance she's telling the truth and something happens to Mona because I didn't help, I could never forgive myself." "Could you?" He didn't answer. The next morning I drove to County Medical Center. I told Desmond I was going to the grocery store. I don't know why I lied except that I needed to do this alone. The hospital was busy, people everywhere, that antiseptic smell mixing with coffee from the cafeteria. I went straight to the 4th floor to room 412. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. What would I say to Mona? How do you comfort a dying child? But when I got to room 412 it was empty. Not just empty of people, empty like it was being cleaned. No equipment, no flowers, no signs anyone was staying there. "Can I help you?" A nurse appeared beside me, her badge reading Tasha. "I'm looking for my niece," I said, my voice sounding strange and distant. "Mona Crawford. She's supposed to be in this room." Tasha checked her tablet, scrolling. Her face changed, sympathetic. "Honey, there's no patient by that name on this floor. Are you sure you have the right room?" The hallway tilted. I grabbed the doorframe. "Can you check the whole hospital?" I asked. "Please. She's 9 years old. Brain tumor. She should have been admitted 2 days ago." Tasha took me to the nurse's station and made calls while I stood there feeling like I was watching myself from outside my body. She checked every floor, pediatrics, oncology, even the emergency room records. Nothing. No Mona Crawford. No 9-year-old girl with a brain tumor. No admission in the last week. "Maybe she's at a different hospital?" Tasha suggested gently, but I could see the pity in her eyes. He knew. She'd seen this before. Families showing up looking for patients who didn't exist. I made it to my car before I threw up in the parking lot, heaving until there was nothing left. My phone rang. "Shanice." I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Kenya. Did you wire the money yet?" They're saying they need it by noon to schedule the surgery for tomorrow. My voice came out cold, a tone I'd never used with my sister before. I'm at County Medical Center right now, I said. Room 412 is empty. Silence. The kind of silence that screams. That's impossible, Shanice finally said, but her voice had changed, lost that desperate edge. Now she just sounded tired. They must have moved her. Let me call the nurses' station. They have no record of her, I interrupted. No record of any child named Mona Crawford being admitted. No brain tumor. No surgery. Want to explain that? You went behind my back? Her voice shifted again, now angry. You didn't trust me? Your own sister? I'm sitting here in the hospital cafeteria, my daughter upstairs dying, and you're checking up on me like I'm some kind of criminal. What hospital cafeteria? I asked. Describe it. Another pause. I don't have to prove anything to you, she said. If you don't want to help your niece, fine. I'll figure it out myself. I always do. She hung up. I sat in my car shaking and called Desmond. You were right, I said when he answered. There's no sick child. She lied about all of it. Come home, he said simply. But I didn't go home. I drove to Shanice's apartment, that run-down place on the east side where the parking lot was more pothole than asphalt. I'd been here once before last Christmas dropping off presents for Mona. I'd never gone inside. I pounded on her door until she opened it. She looked terrible, hair unwashed, eyes red and swollen, wearing the same clothes from her Facebook pictures from 2 days ago. Where's Mona? I demanded, pushing past her into the apartment. It was chaos. Empty Chinese food containers, piles of laundry, papers everywhere. But no signs of a child. No toys, no backpack, no shoes by the door. She's at my friend Keisha's, Shanice said, crossing her arms. I didn't want her here while I was dealing with all this stress. What stress? I yelled. The stress of lying to your family? The stress of making up a fake cancer diagnosis? Where were you really going to spend that $25,000? Shanice's face crumbled then, and for a second I saw my sister again, the one from before. The one who braided my hair. I owe people, she whispered. Bad people. Kenya, I'm in real trouble. The kind of trouble where they hurt you if you don't pay. I needed that money to save my life, not Mona's. I felt something break inside me then, something that had been cracking for years. You used your daughter, I said. You used your child, as bait in a scam. What kind of mother does that? The kind who's desperate, she screamed back. The kind who's drowning and nobody will throw her a rope. I knew you wouldn't give me money for gambling debts, but I thought maybe for Mona. Get out of my life. I left Shanice's apartment and drove straight to Mama's house. She was in her garden, pulling weeds, and stood up slowly when she saw my face. You found out, she said. It wasn't a question. Inside, over tea she made with shaking hands, Mama told me the real story. The one she'd been protecting me from while I was away building my life. Shanice's gambling addiction had started with the casino, yes, but it had evolved into something darker. Online poker. Sports betting. Apps on her phone where she could lose thousands in minutes. 3 years ago she'd stolen Mama's credit cards and racked up $15,000 in charges. Mama had to take out a loan against the house to pay it off. 2 years ago, Shanice had forged Mama's signature on a title loan, using Mama's car as collateral. When she couldn't pay, they'd come to repossess it, and Mama had been left without transportation to work for 6 months. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, crying now. Why did you let me keep believing in her? Because she's your sister, Mama said simply. And because you were the only one who still saw good in her. I couldn't take that away from you. But Kenya, baby, this right here? This fake cancer story? This is a new low even for Shanice. Mama pulled out a folder then, one she'd been keeping. Inside were receipts, bank statements, text messages, years of documentation. Shanice had told Mama that Mona needed school supplies and kept the money. Said the apartment needed emergency repairs and gambled it away. Even last year she'd claimed Mona needed braces and Mama had paid $3,000 to a dentist who'd never heard of them. She's sick, Mama said. It's an addiction, a disease. But you can't help someone who won't help themselves. And you can't set yourself on fire to keep her warm. I had to know Mona was okay. That became the only thing that mattered. I called Shanice's friend Keisha, whose number I found in an old text thread. She confirmed Mona was staying with her but sounded hesitant. Can I see her? I asked. I need to know she's all right. Kenya, there's something you should know, Keisha said quietly. Mona told me what her mama was planning. That little girl is 9 years old and she knew her mama was going to fake cancer to get money. She begged Shanice not to do it, said it was wrong to lie about being sick. Shanice told her to mind her business. That night I picked up Mona. She climbed into my car with a backpack and didn't say much at first. But halfway to our house she started crying. I'm sorry about what Mama did, she said, her voice so small. I told her not to lie about me being sick. I said it was bad luck to lie about cancer because Grandpa died from it for real. But she said desperate times need desperate measures. I pulled over and hugged her while she sobbed. This child carrying the weight of her mother's sins, apologizing for things that weren't her fault. None of this is your responsibility, I told her. You're the kid. You're supposed to be worried about homework and friends, not your mama's mistakes. Is she going to jail? Mona asked. I don't want her to go to jail, Aunt Kenya. I know she does bad things, but she's still my mama. I don't know, baby, I said honestly. But right now you're staying with us until we figure things out. Is that okay? She nodded against my shoulder and I felt her relax for the first time. When we got home, Desmond had already set up the guest room. Zara was bouncing with excitement to have her cousin stay over. But I couldn't shake the image of Shanice, alone in that apartment, probably already spinning her next story. 2 days later I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Is this Kenya James? A man's voice asked. This is Detective Morrison with the Fraud Division. I need to talk to you about your sister, Shanice Crawford. My blood went cold. What about her? We've been investigating her for wire fraud, he said. She's run this same scam on at least 7 other people in the last 2 years. Fake medical emergencies, fake dying children, fake accidents. She's stolen over $80,000 total. Someone finally reported her and we've been building a case. Your name came up in her text records. Did she try to get money from you? I told him everything. The texts, the hospital visit, the confrontation. He was silent for a long moment. You're lucky you verified before sending the money, he said. Most people don't. They wire the funds immediately because who questions a dying child? That's what makes it so effective. She exploits people's empathy. What happens now? I asked. She'll be arrested probably this week. Given the amount stolen and the number of victims, she's looking at serious prison time. 5 to 10 years. After we hung up, I sat on my porch and cried. Not for Shanice the scammer, but for the sister I'd lost years ago. The one who'd protected me, loved me, been my hero. That person was gone, replaced by someone who'd weaponize her own child for money. Desmond found me there an hour later. You okay? He asked, sitting beside me. No, I said. But I will be. We all will be. Even Mona. Especially Mona. You thinking about taking her in permanently? He asked. I'd been thinking about nothing else. If Shanice goes to prison, she'll need somewhere stable. Somewhere safe. Desmond nodded slowly. Then we'll make it work. That little girl deserves better than she's gotten. Shanice was arrested on a Thursday morning. Mama called me, crying so hard I could barely understand her. They came to her apartment with handcuffs. Mama sobbed. Kenya, they handcuffed my baby. Walked her out past all the neighbors. She looked so small. I felt numb. Did you expect something different? No, Mama admitted. But hoping and expecting are different things. I kept hoping she'd wake up one day and be who she used to be. My smart, sweet girl who wanted to be a teacher. The preliminary hearing was 2 weeks later. I went, though Desmond begged me not to. I needed to see her, needed to know this was real. Shanice sat at the defendant's table in an orange jumpsuit, her hair in a messy bun, looking more tired than I'd ever seen her. When her eyes met mine across the courtroom, she mouthed, "I'm sorry." But she'd said that before. After car accident scams, after stolen credit cards, after forged checks. Sorry was a word that had lost all meaning. The prosecutor laid out the case methodically. 7 victims, including an elderly church deacon who'd given Shanice $12,000 for a fake kidney transplant for Mona. An aunt who'd liquidated her retirement account. A coworker who'd taken out a personal loan. The pattern was always the same. Medical emergency, dying child, needed money immediately, elaborate stories with just enough detail to seem real. Your Honor, the prosecutor said, Miss Crawford didn't just steal money. She weaponized people's compassion. She exploited the one thing most people would never question. A sick child. That shows premeditation and a profound lack of remorse. Shanice's public defender argued addiction, mental health issues, a cycle of desperation. But even he sounded half-hearted, like he knew it wouldn't matter. The judge set bail at $50,000. Nobody paid it. Shanice would wait in jail for her trial. 3 weeks after her arrest, I received the first letter from Shanice. I almost threw it away unopened, but something made me read it. Dear Kenya, it started, her handwriting shaky. I know you probably hate me. I hate myself. Every day I wake up in here and remember what I've become, and I want to die. That's not me asking for sympathy. It's just the truth. I need you to understand something, though I know it won't change anything. The gambling isn't an excuse, but it's an explanation. It's like drowning in the middle of the ocean. You keep thinking if you swim just a little harder, just a little longer, you'll reach shore. But you're just drowning slower. Every bet I lost, I told myself the next one would fix everything. I'd win big, pay everyone back, become who I used to be. I never meant to hurt Mona. I never meant to hurt you or Mama. But the disease doesn't care about intentions. It just keeps feeding until there's nothing left. I know I'm going to prison. I deserve to go to prison. But please, Kenya, don't let Mona think she wasn't loved. Don't let her think any of this was her fault. Tell her I'm sick, not evil. Tell her someday maybe I'll get better. Tell her I'm sorry I couldn't be the mother she deserved. I read it 3 times and then I burned it in the kitchen sink. Not because I didn't feel anything, but because I felt too much. Pity and rage and grief all tangled together until I couldn't breathe. More letters came. I burned them all without reading them. Mama read hers, sitting at our kitchen table with tears streaming down her face. She says she's going to rehab in prison, Mama told me. Says she's ready to get help. She's said that before, I reminded her gently. After the casino banned her. After the credit card fraud. After everything. I know, Mama whispered. But she's still my daughter. 6 months later, Shanice was sentenced to 7 years in prison with possibility of parole after 5. Mona had been living with us full-time, and we'd started the process to become her legal guardians. The night after the sentencing, I found Mona sitting on her bed, looking at an old photo album. Pictures of her and Shanice at the park, at her birthday parties, Halloween costumes. In all of them, Shanice was smiling, looking like any other mother. Do you miss her? I asked, sitting beside her. Every day, Mona said. Is that wrong? After what she did? No, baby, I said, putting my arm around her. Love doesn't turn off just because someone does bad things. You can miss who she was and still know she needs to be where she is. Do you think she'll get better? Mona asked. In prison? With the rehab? I hope so, I said honestly. But hope isn't a plan. We can't build our lives around hoping she changes. We have to build them around what's real and what's here. Mona nodded, closing the album. Aunt Kenya? Thank you for not giving up on me even when you gave up on her. 2 weeks later, we finalized the guardianship. Mona legally became our responsibility, and that night we had a family dinner to celebrate. Me, Desmond, Zara, Mona, and Mama. We didn't talk about Shanice. We talked about Mona's straight A's, Zara's soccer team, Mama's upcoming retirement. Normal things. Healing things. That night, tucking Mona into bed, she hugged me tight. I love you, Aunt Kenya, she whispered. Thank you for saving me. But I was the one who felt saved. Saved from becoming another victim in Shanice's web of lies. Saved from teaching my own daughter that family means accepting abuse. Saved from drowning in someone else's ocean while pretending it was love. Shanice had texted begging for $25,000 to save her daughter's life. But in the end, the only life that needed saving was the one I'd almost sacrificed by saying yes. If you've experienced anything similar with a family member's addiction or manipulation, please share your story in the comments below. Sometimes knowing we're not alone is the first step toward healing. And if you found this story meaningful, please subscribe. I share new stories every week about real family struggles and how we survive them.